Hope you're keeping well and looking forward to another exciting Consonance live stream, which I have to admit is pre-recorded. Today is Tuesday for me. Getting on about actually in the day. I have another week of obligations, so I'm having to juggle. But I've got a great list of things for you today, and I'm excited to share yet another live stream. So, you know the drill by now, usual stuff. We're going to do task of the week, and this week we're going to dive into one of the settings areas to check that you know that things can be changed, and we're going to change them and see how that works. Reporting Spotlight this week is about using reports to maybe check up on a little bit of data quality. If a product has got some information and it hasn't got the other sort of information, what is going on there? From our own correspondence is going to be taking us back to the area that I love at the moment, which is the marketing text PDFs. What's new is something to do with workflow, and then I have a bonus power move for you as well, so stick around until the end for that. Right, let's have a look to see what we're going to do today in task of the week. So yeah, in-house formats. We are really looking at these things over in settings, quite a long way away from the sorts of things that we might often, go to habitually in our day-to-day. We're used to going to works and products and reporting very often, and settings, perhaps one doesn't visit it quite as often as all that, because, the whole point of the area is that you set certain things up and then you get to use them as standard within the rest of your account. And if we have a look to see where this stuff is being used, we'll go to the metadata for Cats of the World, the metadata page. And the particular type of setting that I'm interested in showing you today is this in-house format, and it's going to be one of the fields on the format region on the metadata page. So here it is, in-house format. If you've created in-house formats, then choose one for each product, and it's this sort of thing. Here's this drop down. And you would be absolutely forgiven for thinking that you can't do anything with this drop down, because most drop downs in the system are from the Onyx standard. And whilst editor are extremely accommodating and will always take insights and good ideas, the kind of point is that it's a standard and you have to use the present standard drop downs that the Onyx standard provides. So you can't just, go into settings and change the product form code list, because that's one of the fields where, you're setting it to be AJ or BB so that other computer systems know what you're talking about. But, the in-house format, this is like a mapping between the words that you use and the strictures of the standards that we have to join in with. So but it looks quite full. It looks like quite a full list, and that is because when you get your Consonance account for the first time, we have pre-populated it with some of the usual suspects, and you'll recognise them. B format paperback is. Everybody knows that it's 198 by 129 wide. We've got EPUB, we've got all of these other ones. So yeah, I wanted to check that you knew that we can actually go in and change these. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's go back to settings, and I've sort of got it set up here. You go to let's say, format would be in settings. We know how to use that filter now, don't we? And I've navigated to this area, and here are all of the options that ship with your system, with your account. You can delete them if a format hardback UK, which is a hardback, is meaningless to you. You can absolutely choose to get rid of them. That is not a problem. And you can also edit them, and you can add new formats as well. So let's create a brand new one. And the point of this exercise is to be able to use the words that you use and then map them to the words that other computer systems use. So, if you want to call things softbacks, you call them softbacks. And if you want to have a code for that, if your in-house code is something like softback, then, that is absolutely cracking. There's some other options here, but we'll just sort of power on for the moment. So I've added this new in-house format called softbacks. And now we can start to say, when we say softback, what we mean is blah de blah. So I'm going to edit this bit, and I'm going to say, when we say softback, for the purposes of the Onyx standard, we mean BC paperback softback. Because, one doesn't actually ever see the phrase paperback/softback on a catalogue or on your website. You want to be able to get the benefit of the sort of lingua franca of the Onyx standard, but you want to be able to use your words. So here we are doing that. We might want to say that it might have a particular Onyx product packaging. I don't think this one does really. You might always want to say, like I've been here before, that it's a Matt Lamb paperback or something like that. And, use the notes that we provide to help clear up what you might want to put in these sorts of pages. So we've added in a little bit of that. Now we can add in some format details. So the product form details, I'm going to say that when I say softback, I always publish in B format paperback. So this is great. We're getting the benefit of a single entry on a metadata page, but the metadata page is going to be full of all of these Onyx notes. I don't think we can say font. I don't think we can say cover colour at this level. We can certainly start to add in the sorts of hazard warnings that we would say. And for a paperback, I'm going to be able to say that there's no known hazards. So that's great. Even when there's no data, sometimes sending particular data like this is meaningful. I'm saying this paperback, we don't know of any hazards, we don't want to communicate any warnings, and that is valuable in itself. Finally, I'm going to add product measurements, and as I said, it's going to be 198 by 129. The thickness and the weight will vary by product, so I'm not going to fill that in for the moment, and I'm not going to fill in the US measurements either. I'm going to hit save, and that's a new kind of template, I guess you'd call it, wouldn't you? So now let's go over to our metadata page. I'm going to refresh it because that's been changed, and I'm going to say that this paperback here has our new softbacks format, and when I save that, all of that data that we have is now carried over, and we've used it as sort of like a template. So this is great. So what I'd love you to do is to go to your account, skim down this in-house format list on any work metadata page, and have a think to see, gosh, is there anything that you would actually like to use instead there? And then hop over to settings and maybe delete some of the cruft that you don't need, that you don't use, and then you're away. So that was, I think, a very fruitful task of the week. And I hope you have fun with it. That's good fun. Right, what is next? We have a reporting spotlight. This was from a real thing that happened this week. As I say, it's only Tuesday, but a lot's happened since the start of this week. And one of the pieces of information that we found was that we had some children's books that didn't have an interest age on the same metadata. How interesting, we thought. And so I wanted to share this with you so that we can see that doing a report can illuminate some maybe sort of process hiccups. Is there something we're missing regularly? Are we thinking that interest age isn't relevant for our works? Well, it is relevant if you're publishing children's books. So let us hop over to Consonance and have a look to see what that might look like. I've sort of spoiled it here because here it is. I was going to build the whole report, but never mind. So this is a new report I set up. I've called it already. I've called it Works that are Children's that do not have an interest age piece of data present. And here's my search conditions. I've used my Thema category codes, and I've said, give me all of the works that have a Thema category code that begins with the letter Y. And if you click on this, you can see that you get the letter Y, but also some of the usual suspects for all of the beginnings of Thema codes. So this is using part of our data as a way to interrogate more of the data. It's quite good, isn't it, when you've put in the groundwork to add information to your record, and then the more information you have, the more you can use it to do this sort of thing. So we've added in Thema codes, done that work. Now we're saying, well, if there are any codes that we've added in that begin with Y, which we know means it's in the young bit of the Thema codes subject classification scheme, then give them back to me. And then, second condition, give me all of the works interest age froms that aren't present. So this is normally you'd have something like equals, and it would be like 3 and you'd calculate it. But in this drop down, we've got equals, but we've got various sort of versions of that sort of flavour. But then we've got present and not present. And so if we do not present, then all of these come back. And you think, oh no, we've got missing data. This is not very good, not very consistent. And so, all we've got here is a list of the products because I chose the list of products to display as the results of this report. But there are other options available, and subject seems like a good option to at least have a quick look at here. So the subjects, the display here, it has title as the first column. As an aside, my ongoing rant of using the right words for the right job. Imagine if title there meant work, and you'd be like, oh gosh, is it the work or is it the product or is it the actual title as printed on the front of the paperback? Words are important, we know that. So we've got the title, and then we've got Thema codes. Right, yes, beginning with Y. Good. So this is why all of these works have been returned. The Thema codes are such and such, and if we dive into one of these works, then we're going to be able to see that if we look for interest age, then that's omitted. But sure enough, this is relevant for children's and teenage. So really important that we get all of that right. So yes, that was great fun to use the reporting to see certain pieces of information there. So you might want to, if you do children's publishing, definitely hop over to your account right now and see if you can use the Thema codes as a starting point for answering any questions that you might have. All very interesting. Right, well, that's the that's the reporting spotlight. What is next on our list? Yes, from our own correspondence. So from our own correspondence this week, it was really heartening because a kind client who has been following along, has written in to say, loving the marketing template PDFs. Wouldn't it be great if it could do such and such? And the such and such that we wanted to do is, can I have an author bio at contact level on the marketing PDFs? So super to get these nice refined questions. Now you'd think, well, biographical notes, that's everywhere. Of course we would want that. Well, the specific question here was about not just having to put a biographical note on on each work of every of an author's on every work of an author's output. No, this client wanted to be able to put the biographical note at the author level and then have that filter through to all of the works by that author, which is completely valid so long as there's only one author on the work and you haven't got any other information to go along with the interesting story about this particular one work. I mean, if you have all of the time in the world and no further constraints on your time, then I would say by all means always add a marketing text on the metadata page that is called biographical note. So you go to the metadata page, marketing, and you would add a marketing text. What type of marketing text is it? Biographical note. And you write some great stuff here about the author's biography, and perhaps, you know, since we're at work level here, it's absolutely fine to say, and you know, the work was written in Somerset or something relevant to the writing of this particular work. It's absolutely necessary if this is a multi-contributor work to make sure that the biographical note at the work level covers everyone. So you wouldn't want to rely on the biography at the person level for that, because how can a biographical note, when there's 32 authors, if it just covered the first author, that would be awful. So yes, so but in simpler circumstances, it is fine for us to hoik the biographical note out of the contact profile and return that on the PDF. So here's Mary Glover. This is the profile. I've got this by going to address book, or I've clicked through from the work, or come to it somehow. And at the bottom of this page, there is a marketing area, and it says biographical note, lives in Scotland with cats, so many cats. So that is the information that we would like to be almost like the fallback, maybe. You know, if there's no overriding biographical note at the work level for one of Mary Glover's works, use this one. And so that's what the support ticket was interested in, and so that's what we've got here. We've got about the author, and there it is, lives in Scotland with cats, so many cats, and it's rendering nicely with its HTML as well. We've set it up nicely over here so that instead of saying whatever the custom report element is, which is contributors' biographical notes, it says about the author, and we've got some nice styling. We've put a little bit of space before the previous one. You remember how all of this works. So that's great. And then, you know, if this gets overridden by a more specific work level biographical note, then that will appear here instead. So this should save time if you've got maybe legacy data that you've brought in, you've got your biographical notes at the person level, contact level, you haven't yet added it all into the work level. That is okay. Yep, so that was a nice piece of correspondence to get, because it's so nice to, you know, for me to talk about this stuff, for the team here to do all of this hard work, and then to hear that, yes, it's, you know, it's really helping, and here are some more amazing pieces of gold dust feedback that we can use to take it to the next level, to keep making this really, really relevant. So that was lovely. So find that in the report elements, search up bio or something like that, and you'll find the list of all of the available options there. All great. Right, so let's go back to our list of things. We've done our correspondence inbox for the week. What is new? Right, so over to production runs now. We have shipped a thing, and you will find it on the production runs page, a production run page. In fact, this could have gone in from our own correspondence as well, because this was, you know, a direct request for somebody who, one of our clients wanted to be able to say, this is the date by which we have to send the files to the printer, and we call it the press date. And it would be really great if we could put in the date, but also be able to use it as one of our relative dates in our to-dos. So this is the thing that is new. This is what we've done. Let's have a look to see what it looks like. So we're back on cats throughout history, and we're in the production area here. Just click on production, because production takes you to some general stuff about handover dates. Then we've got the list of production runs, and you can also set up print on demand arrangements here. But we're going to be clicking through to one of the production runs itself. I mean, you can think of this as maybe a litho run at a kind of litho printer, as opposed to a print on demand, one by one, different sort of settings. And so production runs, have things like the order details and the quantities and the interior stock that you're printing on, and what sort of bindings are you looking at on covers and finishes and embellishments and so much more. But the bit we're concerned with today is right up here in the top. It's order details, and if I click to see it, I mean, it's another field on one of thousands of forms that you encounter throughout your working day. So I won't explain to you how to click a date picker to add in a form, but a value. But there we have the press date, and it comes with some nice validations. So you cannot send your files to print after the resultant product has been delivered. I think we can agree on that. So, a few sensible constraints there so that you don't do a hiccup with your fingers. So I've set the date there. That's all lovely. But the cool bit happens when you start to be able to use that data to keep everything on track. And so if I go to to-dos now for this particular work, I can add a to-do, and I can say, check that the printer has received files. Who is responsible? Let's make it me. And it's relative to, and you know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to click on this drop down here, and I'm going to see that there's a production section, and now we have the earliest press date, or a kind of refinement on that, the earliest hardback press date or the earliest paperback press date. So depending on which options you added to your production run there, that's how that logic will work. And so now I can say, and I need to say maybe let's say 4 days before the earliest press date, it'd be nice to know whether they've received the files, and so that's the 18th of July of that year. So really nice, tiny little change, but these things are so powerful, aren't they? To be able to not just type a date into a spreadsheet, not have it validated, and just leave it there as a sort of a lurking blob, not really doing anything. Here we've added a date into your canonical source of truth, and then we've kept it alive as a useful point in time against which we can set up other requirements, other notifications, other parts of the publishing process. So it's a nice little example, I guess, as well of asking us for extensions to the system. We didn't come up with that idea, a client did, and so we're grateful, and this is how we improve the system week after week after week, isn't it? All very fruitful and delightful. Right, so that is what's new. Purple power move, marvellous. So, and it's in the zone of workflow. And today I just want to show you that when you set one of your to-dos like that, perhaps it's for a task that's way off in the future. Perhaps you haven't even recruited for the role of the person who's going to do it. Perhaps you've got huge teams and you don't know which set of teams are going to be allocated to which jobs yet. I wanted to show you that you can set a to-do at a role level rather than an individual human person level. So let's go back to Consonance and have a look at that. So check that the printer has received files. Emma is not going to do that. Emma's doing all the other things. Emma is going to get the managing editor to do that. And I've typed in manage and it's pulled up a list of strings that match that. Oh, sorry, I haven't flipped over. Here we are. So I've pulled up that to do. And I've deleted Emma from who is responsible, and I'm typing in manage for pulling up a list of the managers. I could have typed in role as well, and that would have brought back all of the roles that are set up on this work. We'll see where that is in a moment. And now I can say the not the person, the entity who is responsible is the managing editor, whomsoever that may be. So let's save that and see what that looks like. It's assigned to the managing editor. Big clue there. The managing editor role is unfulfilled on this particular work. Let's have a look in project management roles to see what's going on. And so we've got a few roles set up on Cats Art History. We've got an allocating editor being done by the incredible bassist Simon Gallup. We've got an artwork director done by my heart, Robert Smith. We've got a production controller, me, but we haven't got a managing editor. So if I add a person or organisation actually, Feline Press, to the managing editor role, then I have fulfilled that role on this particular work. And I'll go back to to-dos, and now we will see that, okay, gosh, right, Emma Barnes is the managing editor and they're the one who is on the hook for doing this to-do. So I just wanted you to hold that in your mind, because it may not be the case now that it's necessary or relevant, but perhaps as your team grows, as new projects are being scoped out, perhaps you might want to do a new exemplar work that has a list of to-dos for things that are yet to be done on works that are yet to be imagined. And you might want to set up the roles, but it's so vague and abstract at the moment that you're not in a position to be able to say Emma's doing that, Anne's doing that. So setting up this is why it's a power move, isn't it? It's all of these things that are a little bit templatey or a little bit more abstract, I feel, are at that sort of power move level, where you can get as much out of Consonance as you need to make it really sing for you. So that is setting a to-do at a role, not person level. And if you need more information about roles as well, gosh, we could dive into that, because they are used throughout the system, but we'll keep it focused for today. So there we are. That's it for this week. We have absolutely powered through to our power move, and we've done it in quite good time, I think. So I will see you next week. Hopefully my week is a little bit more regularly scheduled, for me anyway, in the next week. Definitely let us know any interesting ideas that you have. Keep the feedback coming, whether it appears on a live stream or not. This is where we get our ideas from you, the paying customer. You are using the system all day long, just like we are, and we value and crave your insights and feedback, so that we can keep adding, small, large, medium-sized developments that carry on answering the changing questions in all of our job roles. So look forward to seeing more feedback as and when it comes. It's a bit of a funny time, isn't it, in the summer where everyone's out. So when you get back from it, hopefully you've got vacations or you're on vacations. But when you're back and you've got fresh mind for looking at this stuff, then we're always here to hear your thoughts on things. So thanks very much.